What's up, guys? We are back at it with the third episode of the Drop from Scratch series. Now, today we are going to be looking at 8th bar fills. What are 8 bar fills? Right here. So, what it is after 7 measures, as you can tell, it says 7 in the bottom left corner. On the 8th one is where your nice little fill comes in. It's something that contrasts the drop a little bit and really keeps the flow going. And that way it doesn't get repetitive. So with that being said, I'm going to start off with our first little segment of tips and tricks, my dude. Yeah, dude. Time for some tips and tricks, my dude. What's up, my dudes? So, firstly, when it comes to your 8th bar fills, make it original. Do something with it. Like, I know for me, I usually put like the Deucez bitch part in the first 8th bar fill of every one of my songs. And that way it kind of gives my own signature and original flair to it. So do the same thing with yours. Try to like have some fun with it, come up with something unique. Really contrast it from like the drop noises. Don't just kind of like make the same drop noises for that 8th bar fill and make it all seem bland. Give it some flair, give it some color, and that will make it stand apart from the drop, but keep the flow. Another quick tip, my dudes, is don't drink too much coffee.
Wrong.
Because then when you go to like produce, your hand's gonna be all twitchy, and like it's just not gonna be a good time.
You know what? I'm about to say it. Okay, I don't care.
Another side note, when it comes to making your 8 bar fill, I feel like this is kind of self-explanatory, but for some of you guys that might be just starting out with producing, you're definitely going to want to understand key signatures and how keys work. Because when you make your 8 bar fill, you want to stay in key. Like for instance, for like the horn, the chords, and our lead that we have, we are in the key of E minor. Now when it comes to the drop, we are also in the key of E minor. So just make sure to bear that in mind. And just have fun with it, be creative, do something with it. So, what I did is first I added a horn, which I've already consolidated here. And for me, on this one, I added a filter that automates up. And then I added, let's see here, some chords that come in. They're doing the same type of root notes of the horn. And then once again, I filtered that up. Then I added a little lead, which I still kind of wanted to keep to the simple construct of the rest of the drop, which is all cymatics presets. So that way, like, this really shows you guys like you can do the same exact thing too if you have presets. You don't have to know exactly how to sound engineer things and sound design things. You can just use presets if you really want to. I don't suggest it, but this is just to show you guys what you can do just with presets. So now I resampled this because it's got that really long reverb tail and chopped it off. That way when this next part of the drop comes in, there's no tails, there's no reverb, nothing. It's just the next part of the drop. So let's see what we got here. Then I also added a nice subtle little drum fill. And what I did is I just faded the kicks a little bit So that way they were a little bit more just like attacky. They weren't so much thuddy. You know, they didn't really have the whole chunk of the meat there. It's just the attack. And then I kind of wanted to add it in places where it wouldn't really fight these noises here, these sounds. That way it kind of all meshes together. So do the same thing with yours. You can even add like a super long drum roll where it's, you know, do 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 do, like a whole long drum fill. Just always make sure when you're doing things like that that you're not adding really like a whole like sub line. And even if you are, make sure you sidechain almost every single time one of those comes in, or you're gonna come across some really weird like low end issues where you're going to be causing deconstructive frequencies, and you don't want that. So now we're going to get to the next 8 bars of the drop. Now, for me personally, I tend to like to use my own little signature, which is... So, let me show you what that sounds like. It kind of keeps the overall flow, but it gives it enough contrast to really keep the whole drop moving forward and progressing instead of just repeating everything. Because when you do that, by the end of the drop, you're going to lose people. They're going to think it's repetitive, even if it's only 16 bars. And that's because you didn't change anything up, because you want to stay to the rule of changing something up every 8 bars. So make sure when you're doing these that you change something up. It can even be as simple as, you know, just this first upbeat here, just adding a vocal there and cutting everything out, just like, you know, how I have it here, but I have it on all the upbeats for 2 measures. So now let's take a listen from what we created in the first episode, which is the drop, and then we created this sub bass in the second episode, and now in the third episode we got our 8 bar fill. So now let's check everything out. Get the fuck back. And there we go, guys. There is your 8 bar fill. Hope you guys liked today's episode. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and comment below if you have any suggestions or questions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.